Welcome to the Flore Fantasy and Sci-Fi Lore, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. And today we are talking about Dune. Specifically, I wanted to cover the spice melange. This is an addictive narcotic is what I meant to say. So the people who end up getting addicted to this, they not only crave it physically, but mentally, but also those who crave power because it gives prescience, right? And it helps people make their decisions on how to.
Okay, so you just called it narcotic, and I do want to point this out, that as far as we know, it's not a narcotic. Narcotics are opium-derived drugs, right? Somehow they contain opium. Whereas spice, it makes you see the future a little bit. It makes you live longer.
Does opium not come from worm poop?
Good? Is it opium? I don't think
it does. It does. It
but
comes
it's not
with
opium
a euphoria.
that's doing it, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll give you that. But it does give a euphoria. People do feel euphoric when they use spice.
And spice comes from worm poop, right?
So that's what I said. I'll break that down exactly what's happening. That's kind of just fun to say.
So, but there is also the fact that spice has a very heavy dependency. Like once you've taken enough spice that extends your life, you will also begin to die immediately if you stop taking spice.
Yes, withdrawals can be fatal.
Yeah,
right?
Withdrawal is fatal.
Once you're addicted, you're addicted for life.
Like you start eating this stuff, it's like, yeah, you'll live an extra 70 years. Be like, that's awesome. But if you ever stop taking it, you'll die next week. Be like, wait, what? Be like, yeah, never start this habit unless you have the wealth to really sustain it.
Is there a way to wean yourself off, or is that not even maybe?
Nope.
I don't know.
No.
Just fresh worm poop won't do anything for you?
That'll kill you. That's the concentrate. That's the water of life.
No, the water. Well, I guess I don't know. In our previous episode, you had stated that the water of life is they take a worm baby and they drowned it, and then that slowly, like its life and minerals and stuff, dissolve into that water, creating the water of life.
Yeah. I mean, so a little bit of this technology with the worms is mysterious. They have a hard time studying the worms.
Right.
They liquefy when they die. They're extremely difficult to study.
That's what worms actually do. Like I go fishing sometimes, right? And if one worm, like you can buy like fish in dirt, or not fish, worms in dirt.
Fish in dirt.
You can buy, you fish for worms with fish. You can buy dirt with worms in it. If one of the worms die, like it releases toxin that just makes all the other worms biodegrade. So I learned this because I bought them. I had like 9 in there, and I forgot about them. And then I opened it up in a week, and they were all gone. I was like, did they leave? Did they escape?
Did they escape?
No, in the corner somewhere?
Yeah, it's funny.
This tiny little cup, yeah.
All right, so as far as making you live longer, it can make you live up to 3 times as long. So easily get somebody into the 200-year mark. So more than just 70 years. And it tastes like cinnamon. That's how it's described.
Right,
but,
yeah.
Dr. Yui also says that it never tastes the same twice.
Except like cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
It'd be like a cinnamon overtone, but your experience might
like a cinnamon mango, and then a cinnamon shrimp, and then a cinnamon rock.
Cinnamon shrimp. I don't want it.
Yeah, but the next time it'll be a cinnamon strawberry. So.
But I mean, like, imagine somebody pitching you the spice for the first time. Be like, well, what's it taste like? Be like, cinnamon shrimp. Be like,
well, no, but like
240 years of cinnamon shrimp. I don't know if I want that.
Every single time,
I don't know.
What it tastes like is like, Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. It's like every single one of those, except with a little bit of cinnamon. It's like, which one? Like, well, it depends. Like it'll taste like one, and the next time it won't taste like that one again. It always tastes a little like cinnamon.
As far as its addictive properties, once you get addicted, you just start craving more and more and more. It'll always continue to grow where you're just consuming more and more and more of it.
Does it grow in frequency too? So like if you want it every month, the more you take it, do you want? Okay, probably.
Yeah, but most people who become addicted to it, it's part of their daily life. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do this for the weekend
on breakfast, cinnamon shrimp on lunch.
Again, it tastes different every time. Cinnamon shrimp one time. Get that out of the way. Like the first time, it won't be cinnamon shrimp ever again.
Yeah, but then you have like rotten shoe and cinnamon coming next. Like it's not a fun roller coaster.
I didn't even know shoes could rot, but they're technically organic if they're leather.
Yeah.
So let's go over some of the things that it does when you partake of the spice.
Tastes like cinnamon shrimp.
One of the main things it does is it opens up dormant parts of your mind, making you sharper. So the Bene Gesserit really like to use this to increase their powers of either perception or just, with their kung fu stuff and all the stuff that they do.
Right. But, so this kind of brings up a concept that you hear a lot, and I think, the movie Lucy, where they talked about, that we only use 10% of our brains, and there's all these parts. And this is, and you can kind of see Herbert leaning into that with the spice here, but this is wildly incorrect. You use the whole brain. In fact, the brain is constantly shutting down parts that it doesn't use very often to do other things.
Time out, show. Do not speak on my behalf. I do not use all of my brain.
Well, here's the thing. You can't use but the thing is you can't use the whole brain at one time. It's too demanding. So only certain parts of your brain are active and at different levels at any given point during the day.
That's why some people love to brainstorm and some people like consistency. But normally those two don't always get along if they're one's having one conversation, the other's having another. Hypothetically. But have you guys ever seen the TV show Chuck?
Yes.
So in Chuck, he basically downloads the FBI supercomputer. Yeah, the FBI, like all their knowledge. And in season 2, he could just like download skills. So like at the end of season 1, he's just like, I know Kung Fu. Because like someone came to like punch him and he was just like,
from the Matrix.
Yeah. So I imagine that the Bene Gesserits probably are just like that. They're just like, take some spice and they watch some monkey punch another monkey and they're like, I know Kung
Fu. But yeah, so this is definitely building off of that theory. Mm-hmm. Whereas, that, like I said, the theory is more rooted in that, maybe only between 8 and 12% of your brain is fully active at any given moment, right?
And so there's a difference between the use of the brain itself and the efficiency of the use of the brain. Because
the efficiency.
So for instance, as an example, I like bodybuilding a lot, right? And there's guys who can make certain parts of their muscles like pop. Then there's guys who can flex each fiber individually. If you haven't seen it, it's called the waterfall, and they can go, or the Mun's wave.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so they can flex. There's this guy, I forgot his first name, but it's Mun's. But he can flex from the bottom of his chest all the way up, through his shoulders, every single head, down his bicep, every single fiber, all the way through and back. And so I imagine the brain's kind of the same way. Like, yeah, you could use 100% of your muscles, but how efficiently do you do that?
All right. So
back to spice.
Back to spice.
So now we're talking
about. Also increases their immune system, so you don't get sick very much when you're on spice.
But you die immediately if you're off it.
Not immediately. It's a withdrawal period, and then you die.
You're super healthy.
Probably like
and then you die.
A week or two, or I don't know how fast it is into. It also helps you to recover your wounds faster.
I didn't know that part.
And that was the first discovery with spice. That was the first reason why it was discovered and used.
And then somebody's like, hey, you guys aren't dying. What's up? You're like, you got shot in the leg 80 years ago and you look 30. What's happening?
Have you ever tried cinnamon shrimp?
Have you ever tried cinnamon shrimp? Secret to not dying.
I also got really good at gambling, I've noticed. What's this all about? So we also know that physically it'll turn your eyes blue, right? And just because somebody's eyes are not blue doesn't mean they're not on spice. Because a lot of like royals and stuff will use contacts to hide the fact that.
But their eyes are actually blue.
Right. It's just now they have a contact covering it, so that
Like,
it does not appear.
I feel like that's not hiding anything. You'd be like, you're royalty. Why wouldn't you be on spice? You get to live 3 times as long. Be like, who you fooling, man? We all know all of you are on it.
Could you have blue eyes and not be on spice?
It's like I feel like spice is like once we figured out how to purify water, and then there's some like royal walking around be like, I don't drink that purified stuff. I'm like you. Be like, BS. Ain't nobody drinking dirty water who don't have to.
Ain't nobody. Dirty water just hits different though, Joe. Have you tried it recently?
All right. So now when we see the spice, it's often this rust color, right? It's described as this kind of reddish brown. But if you put it in the right light, at like the right angle, it has like a glowing blue to it. And then also, of course,
it's like the dress, right?
The blue and black, the white and gold dress.
It's like the dress.
The dress from on the internet. I thought it was a dress from Dune or the Mockingjay. Like
no.
Like
the dress that broke the internet. Yeah.
Internet still works. So.
Internet still works.
And then, of course, also the water of life is a blue liquid. And so it seems like this blue element is what like will bind to people's eyes after they've taken it for so long and their eyes turn blue.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But if you are heavily using the drug, you get what we see with the navigators. Their eyes will turn such a dark blue that they almost appear black. Their heads and their extremities begin to elongate, and they become very fish-like, with fins on their feet and fanning of the head. They're like slowly transforming into like this fish creature.
Space Swaggin.
Space. Yes, that you eat a lot of spice, you become space.
Well, yeah, cinnamon shrimp. Why would you not, as a space swaggin, want that?
Cinnamon shrimp gives you space swaggin. He's not wrong.
He's out of line. He's right.
So, we know that spice only comes from the planet Arrakis or Dune. But why? And the reason really comes from sandworms, right? It comes from sandworms, not necessarily the planet. And it's part of their life cycle. So when a worm wants to reproduce, they will cover large bodies of water in dirt so that it's kind of locked in. And the trout, or the larva that they have, they will go to where the water is, and they connect themselves from head to butt, and they'll create these circles. And they'll go into these watery areas, and they'll spin and churn and churn. The reason they connect each other is because water is deadly to the worms. It's like poison. So they connect each other so that no water gets into their systems. But as they're churning, they produce this fungaloid, sci-fi thing, but it's attached to like some kind of fungus that they seed this water with. And from doing this, it churns it into this other kind of thing that the worms can digest. And for all intents and purposes, this is no longer water, right? This is like this jelly worm food stuff called a pre-spice mass. And this fungus growing in there creates a lot of carbon dioxide. And so the pre-spice mass is what those larvas will eat, right? They seed it, and then they eat some of this stuff. And then what's left over We'll create this big pocket of carbon dioxide that'll explode out like a geyser, right? And all this stuff comes shooting out along with some water vapor. And so worms avoid this area during that water vapor. And as the stuff comes falling back down, it dries out in the heat in the desert and becomes this fine powder. And that is the spice. So that is where it comes from. The reason people like
So
to
it's
call
like
it worm
worm
poop is
placenta?
Sure. It's a little bit. I mean, this is after they're born, and they kind of make their own food source in a water pocket, kind of destroying the water and creating it for them to eat on while they're young.
I feel like in Dune itself, like the actual novel, they don't really understand where the spice comes from. They just find it on Arrakis. At what point do they figure this out?
So there's not really a point when they figure out like exactly why it's coming from the worms. Not that it's just here on Arrakis. I would say until maybe Paul. How he can look into his genetic memory. And so a lot of information is lost during the Butlerian Jihad, right? When all the computers decide to get destroyed and everything.
Get destroyed.
Massive.
That's what actually happened. They're like, we'll just lose the war.
So lots of information is lost at that point in time. This is also 80,000 years in the future from that point of a lot of lost information. 80,000 years of humanity. And humanity that's warring back and forth, right? And when you win a war, you tell the lies that make you sound better. And then that happens again and goes the other way. So, like, there's so much information that gets lost over and over again.
Yeah.
And so how they know this exactly isn't exactly clear. But Paul, using his genetic memory, is able to, like, suss out quite a few different things.
Yeah, I imagine, because like you said, like all like massive archives of human knowledge just lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the way our own technology is going, we go digital, and they're much farther in the future in this going digital, and then suddenly you have to destroy all the digital machines and be like, all our records were in there. Be like, what about the paper ones? Be like, we haven't done paper in a million years. In a million years, we haven't done paper. Why would you ask that?
The last time we made paper, not for toilet paper, was so long ago, we don't remember.
We don't even have trees to do that anymore.
Yeah. So much knowledge would have just been lost.
It's like...
And then I think you would have had the rise of people who took advantage of that. All of this lost record and knowledge, they would then be able to lie and manipulate various industries and politics to the advantage, because it's like, who could prove you wrong?
You just have to have high charisma. You can do whatever you want.
Those high charisma jerks taking over the world like always. Yeah, you should just cut out all their tongues.
Yeah, because those high intellects are so much better. I want to be liches, live forever. All their tongues. Oh, it's my weapon.
No, it's my weapon.
All right, so knowing now that like the spice shoots up from these breeding grounds, essentially, it makes a little bit more sense why the worms always attack. Is because the harvesters are directly above their breeding grounds.
Yeah,
right. So they are protecting their young when they're attacking these harvesters, right?
Yeah,
because that is where they're breeding and reproducing and. They're protecting their species and their young. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense now.
So if they had like a different type of harvester that was like a lot quieter, a lot smaller, like a guy with a suitcase, those worms might not.
Guy with a suitcase.
Worms might
well,
not
we
attack.
do know that like when they walk across the sands, they also like he does talk about you have to do like a special walk. Oh. No, the people
walk
to not draw the worms.
Rhythm. Yeah, you can't walk with rhythm. You have to
walk.
And
I do wonder if the worms are drawn to rhythm, or if the worms have learned that rhythm means people and people harvest spice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they just hate music.
It's hard to say.
Hard to say. Yeah,
I think they hate music.
I think they
They're
hate
like
music.
they're like the city leaders.
Just industrial music.
Just
Industrial. Yeah, it's the Wump World or whatever. We don't want you to industrialize our planet. There's a book called Wump World where it's like these innocent herbivore creatures were like hanging out on a planet. It was a beautiful planet, and then these spaceships came down, and these people just took over the planet and ruined it. And the Wumps could have fought back, and the worms did. So that's what the Wumps should have done.
Right. So, anything else, Eli?
Yeah, I got a lot more.
Oh,
Quit
is this a
interrupting,
two-parter?
It might end up being a two-parter.
Okay.
Nice.
But another thing we kind of see with this, how the worms make the spice, right? They're basically destroying water to create food for their baby cells. And so it also makes sense why the Fremen act the way they do with their water, that the water belongs to the tribe, that they take it so preciously, because lost water could be lost water forever, right? Once the worms seed it with their fungal secretions, which is what it's referred to as, it's not water
anymore. Spice, right? Yeah.
And so that is why the Fremen treat water they do.
Well,
it's like, this is our water, and we have to protect it.
Dune is so dry, because I remember like people were saying like thousands of years ago, Arrakis, when it was first discovered, was mostly a water planet.
Didn't you also say that the worms didn't live here originally? Or am I crazy?
So yes,
right.
And there is also
so that's something Paul learns through his genetic memory. Is they find these big salt beds that show that it used to have water on there, and then through genetic memory, he was able to find out that this place used to have big oceans, and that the worms were brought here. But we don't know from where.
The water, generation after generation.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, it will have no water, in theory.
Well, people bring water to Dune now.
Arrakis.
Right, like
Dune's the whole
place. They bring it for the people who live there who need it, like all the Imperials and and the nobles and their servants. And it's great for trading with the Fremen. Like a cup of water buy you just about anything from the Fremen. Like, a whole glass of water? What do you want, my daughter? Just kidding.
That I think that's 8 pints of water.
8 pints.
It depends on the daughter, dude.
So I mean, I think the worms would eventually consume all the water on Arrakis, but they bring in a lot of water.
So as far as like the history of spice, it's first discovered by Yanship Ashoka.
Oh wait. Let's hold off on the history of spice until next time.
Okay, I just want to ask one question to clarify, and you don't even have to answer it in this one. It could be in the short, and people could just wait to hear it. The answer. But the question is, when you say the first discovery, does that mean the first discovery in our continuous universe, or the first ever discovery, pre-Butlerian Jihad?
This is pre-Butlerian Jihad. Okay. He's an imperial chemist,
and he uses technology to discover it because he can.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, he's a chemist, not a mentat. You can see it right there, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a treasure room question for us?
What's the most exciting thing about spice for you? What would you appreciate?
Oh boy, howdy! Do I have something I want to talk about?
All right.
We'll talk about that in the treasure room. You have any thoughts or comments on today's episode? Go ahead and write in. Let us know.
Where do you write into?
To us.
Okay, so our
you can email us at florefantasyandlore@gmail.com. Or you can message us on the Patreon or any of the social media platforms
Facebook,
where we are.
Instagram,
of course,
Twitter,
Flore,
TikTok.
Fantasy, and Lore.
Yes. Right room? That's true.